guys, Christian the Havercard Man here, coming at you with my Springans deck profile today, if you couldn't tell by the title. But before we get into this, guys, don't forget to check out all those goodies down in the description for you. Links to all of my stuff, like my Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan-made audio drama, Yu-Gi-Oh! Synthesis, the Coalition of Scrubs, my podcast, literally everything is down there for you guys to go check out. And of course, if you guys are looking for singles, go ahead and hit up my TCG Player store down below. I'm probably going to work on getting an affiliate link before too long if you guys want to help support the channel. But without further ado, also guys, I just wanted to say this really quick. I am recording this as of March 8th, and my goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2021. So if you can, let's go ahead and try to kill that like and subscribe button, and let's even see if we can get to 300 by the end of March. I know that's going to be a crazy goal to hit, but I think we can do it. So without any further ado, now let's go ahead and get into the deck profile today. So starting off with the monsters with the Springans lineup, we are running the triple Springans Captain Sargus, the triple Springans Bronga. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble with these names. I don't know why. 2 Springans Rocky and 2 Springans Pador. So the reason we're running 3 of the big boys, for one, Bronga is your searcher in graveyard, and he can search for any Springans card from your deck by managing himself and a different Springans monster with a different name from the graveyard to get a search. So I mean, this can get you start off with your plays all over again. If you don't have a gold Golgunda anymore, access to one, you can search for it. If you have a gold Gunda on your field but you don't have a Springans monster in your hand, you can search directly for a Springans monster or a Springans watch to be able to add a Springans monster from your deck to your hand and then send a Springans to the graveyard from the deck. So that's super cool. The level 4s don't really do a whole lot. Rocky's good recovery, because if he's normal or special summon, you can target one of the field spell or another Springans monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand, which isn't really necessary. The only time you'd really want to use that is to add the field spell back to your hand, so you can start off with your plays again. And then Pador, you can tribute him to target a Springans monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So the only case in which I see this being a legitimate thing is if you lost your field spell, you normal summon the Pador, tribute it to get out the Rocky, get the field spell back, or I don't know. There's got to be something that I'm not seeing here, but I don't think those are all that relevant. And then Captain Sargus is really good though, because he does have an on-field effect during your opponent's turn as a quick effect to attach one material from an Exceed monster you control, then target one face-up card on the field and destroy it. So if you have your Captain Sargus on field and you have your Explorer left with any materials, you can just automatically detach one of the materials from it and then be able to destroy one of your opponent's cards as they're playing, which is super cool. Unfortunately, it does target and destroy, but if you do it to an early enough combo piece, you should be fine. Because then you'll also just get rid of your Explorer later with its own banishing effect. So that is kind of an explanation for that lineup. The rest of this is all hand traps, board breakers, or extenders, so let's go ahead and get into that. So for the just extra consistency, we are running Triple Planet Pathfinder because you really, really, really need to see that gold Golgunda in the opening hand. So this guy is just an extra means to do it, and this deck doesn't really use its normal summon all that much, so you're not really that worried about doing that. So there he is. There's your Planet Pathfinder for you. Now, the rest of these are just hand traps. So, of course, mandatory triple Ash, and then 3 Nibiru. But for a controversial hand trap, I am running the triple Heavenly Zephyr Miradora. I did a blog on the Coalition of Scrubs not too long ago about this card and how it's heavily underrated this format, especially because it's basically an effect veiler that is unable to be negated. The activation effect of this card's effects cannot be negated, so that's already a really big plus. And it also stays, it just sits on the field and constantly negates that monster's effects. It's not just until the end of the turn, it's until this card gets removed, which if your opponent's going first, well, good luck trying to do that. Best they can do is Dark Rule it or more, or Forbidden Droplets it just to negate it, but even then it can't be negated. So I really don't know. I just think this card is super powerful. Yes, granted, it does have to activate after an opponent summons a monster with 2,000 or more attack from the extra deck, and then it can only target monsters special summon from the extra deck. But I mean, really, that's not all that big a deal, because you think about how many things this can out. This can out a Borreload Savage, this can out a Calamities, this can out a Samorg before it gets its end phase to bring out the Barrier statue. This can stop a Bardiche if you're playing against that matchup, or when Scrap Combo comes out and Orcus gets popular again. There's so many matchups I think where Miradora is underrated. So I'll stop rambling about it. I'll make a separate discussion on that in the future sometime, I'm sure. So onto the spells now here. Of course, as mandatory, triple of the Great Sand Sea Gold Golgonda. This is the field spell for the Springans that allows you to bring out your Exceed monster just by discarding one Springans card. It doesn't have to be a monster. And then you special summon one Springans Exceed monster from your extra deck, which we do have another Exceed monster coming up in the future, which is going to be super awesome. The Springans Mary Blower, I believe, which is super cool. I actually really like that a lot, so... and of course, to go along with that, we do have the 3 Springans Watch, because, I mean, if you open up this at a Gold Golgonda, you have full means just to get an easy X-Blower with at least 2 materials. Because, so this card can either search for a Great Sand Sea Gold Golgonda from your deck to your hand, or if it's already in your field zone, you can instead choose to add a Springans monster from your deck to hand and then send one Springans monster from your deck to graveyard. It is a hard once per turn, but honestly, the consistency of just seeing this and having it at 3 is worth it. And then you can always use it for next turn too. So like, this deck, honestly, I kind of feel plays a little bit like Subterrors, but is more focused about special summoning the Exceed monster first, and then like snowballing advantage with that, because trust me, it gets crazy as time goes on. So next up here for more consistency boosters, we are running the triple pot of Prosperity. Like I mentioned, this does play a little bit more like Subterrors, but it only needs the 3 extra deck slots, at least as of right now. Once a Mary Blower comes out, like this is, it's going to need some more space. And actually, I think once Mary Blower comes out, that's the point where I'd start swapping to the scrap package and make this a more combo-based deck. But for right now, it actually plays really well as a control deck, or it's like at least a very slower pace, snowball advantage type of deck that actually hilariously prefers to go second. So I do think that's kind of funny. But yeah, triple pot of Prosperity because we don't really need the extra deck all that much. And then we're also running double pot of Desires. I know they conflict with each other because you can't draw cards the turn that you activate Pot of Prosperity. But the Pot of Desires is more for the late game grind match. This is a 44 card deck. I mean, you could just cut them out and make it a 42 card deck and have that much more consistency, but I figured it'd just be good to have the extra draw power. I debated on Extravagance, but I'm like, if you're having Pot of Prosperity and you're already banishing for the extra deck, you're not really going to be able to get that many pulls out of it, most likely. So lastly here for the spells, we have 1 Terraforming for the extra Gold Golgonda, and then 1 Foolish Burial because all of our monsters have effects where they can attach themselves to our Exceed monster as material from hand, field, or graveyard. So if you just send one to the grave, like, you're fully set up. It's good. So onto the traps here, because we are playing some floodgatey type of stuff. I know people aren't going to like that already, but we'll start off here with the 2 Springans Blast. If you control a Springans monster, choose one opponent's main monster zone. If a monster is face up in that zone during this turn, it cannot attack them directly. Also, its effects are negated. So this is a non-targeting effect negation, which is super cool. And then it also just prevents them from attacking. So if it's a big monster, like, that's really nice. But then if the no monster is in that zone, it cannot be used this turn. So if your opponent is like heavily depending on certain arrows, like they need one specifically for their combo to work, you can just block that arrow before they get the chance to use it. I don't know, that part doesn't really come up as much, but it is funny to know that it's there. I personally like the zone negation, which is super cool, but it's only a 2 of, you don't really need it more than that. Next up here, we are running the triple summon limit and triple there can be only one. Like I said, this plays like Subterra, so these floodgates just kind of make sense. So next up and lastly here is the 1 copy of Imperial Order, just in case we end up finding the Lightning Storm, Evenly Matched, Harpy's Feather Duster, you name it. It's only a 1 of, sadly, but if we draw it, it's gonna save us a lot of trouble. I know a lot of our stuff is spell cards, so like we won't get our Gold Golgonda or Springans Watch, but if we can protect like the summon limit and there could be only 1, we already have our X-Blower in play, like, you know, we'll be okay. I mean, not getting the 1000 attack point boost from the Gold Golgonda does really hurt, but I think we should be able to out-resource our opponent enough that it won't matter all that much. So, and we can always find ways to get rid of that too, like, it's not impossible, so that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the extra deck really quick. I'm not going to do the side deck for you guys today because you guys side deck however you want. I did actually build one for once, but if you guys have like a preference on side deck, by all means go for it. The only thing I'm going to suggest is don't forget about the Alpha, the Master of Beast, because this card is so underrated. But once again, that's another discussion in and of itself. So extra deck time. Actually, it's going to be very simple. It's 3 of the Springans Ship X-Blower, because we really want to make sure that we can have one of these guys in rotation at all time. Thanks to our Gold Golgonda, technically we should only ever have 1 at a time, which is totally fair. I mean, it's not going to be broken if you have more than 1, for the simple fact that each of your monsters can only attach as materials once per turn, and a hard once per turn at that. So, I mean, really, it's not going to affect a whole lot if you have more than 1, because it's not like you're going to get multiple effects. That and X-Blower's effect is a hard once per turn as well, so you're not worried about that. Next up here, we got a Nightmare package. We're running triple Cerberus, triple Phoenix, double Unicorn, and double Griffin. These are just pot targets. Like, that's really all they are. The Cerberus and the Phoenix could easily come up, because there are times where you can get to monsters on field, and then you'll be able to link those off to get rid of some problematic monsters on your opponent's field, which is super cool. The Unicorn and Griffin are less likely to resolve, but if there's ever a game state in which they can, they're really cool to have. The Nightmare Griffin especially is just hilarious. So, and then lastly here, we just have 2 Barricade Board Blocker to finish off the deck, because this is a way to protect our field spell, which is super cool. And then it's also a way to recover it at the end phase if we end up losing it for some reason. So I think the Barricade Board Blocker is pretty nice to have it here. So that's all I got for the deck profile today, guys. If you enjoyed it or you have any tweaks you think I should make, let me know down in the comments. Once again, don't forget, this is playing more like a Subterrace type strategy, where you're just summoning like 1 monster and then resting on some back row and like a couple other pieces of disruption. So it is meant for the really long grind game. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments, any ideas you might have for it. Like I said, in the future, I'm definitely going to be modifying this to be a scrap build, because I've seen the combo potential out of it with the cards in the OCG that we haven't gotten yet here in the TCG, and I definitely look forward to seeing how powerful that is. So thank you guys for joining it today. Don't forget, let's try to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2021, and if we're crazy enough, 300 by the end of March. And I will catch you guys all in the next video. Remember to have fun and make your move. Peace out.
I'm a love giver.